Ladies and gentlemen, this is Cynthia The Audio Bell, and I am here with a fellow YouTuber, Jordan. He has a channel as well, and it is called
Haterade Cowboy Cinema. If you want, you can check it out. I do a lot of home theater. I do some smart home stuff too, but it's mainly a home theater. So if you want to check that out, then I would appreciate it.
And this is actually his first Axpona, and I really wanted to get his thoughts on it since this was his first trip to Axpona in general. So I guess we'll start off with that. What are your first impressions of the show?
So yeah, this is my first time at Axpona. I didn't really know what to expect. You know, I've talked to you and talked to some other YouTubers, and they said it's really cool. I will say it's not as overwhelming as something like CES, but it's a little bit overwhelming in the fact that there's just so many rooms. Like I mean, it's a huge hotel, so there's just rooms upon rooms upon rooms. And, you know, I shot a lot of stuff. I probably have a good maybe 15 videos, but I've seen maybe like 10% of this place. But it's a really, really cool place. I like that you can go in, sit down. You don't have to talk to anybody if you don't want to. You can just check out the speakers, the equipment, and then if you want to get some more information, then you can always reach out to the representatives of the company. But this is really cool. Like, I want to come back. I don't know if it's always going to be like an every year thing to where I can come every year, but I would definitely come back.
It's typically yearly around this time. Now, during the COVID stuff, when all of that happened, they kind of closed it down, I think, twice. And then there was another one similar to this Rocky Mountain Audio Fest that ended up closing down too, which is really sad. So this is kind of one of the last of its kind. I know that Florida has one similarly.
Yeah.
I think there's one in Seattle too. But I've not been to CES, so I'm sure that is a lot larger than this for sure.
I can't even begin to describe the scale, but I want to say it's probably 100 times bigger than this, because you have the main convention center, and then you also have the Venetian where the casinos are. They have a hotel there and there's stuff there, but the main floor, it's incredibly huge. There is a lot of walking. I think the first day I did like 20,000 steps or something like that. So wow. It's a ton of walking. There's booths everywhere. For me, the first day was a little bit overwhelming, and I didn't really. It's hard to get your bearings. I don't like the way that they have the numbering system where the booths and stuff are. The last day, I finally figured out where everything was. But yeah, CES is a lot bigger. But I like this because it's smaller and it's easier to find stuff. Everything's pretty much, pretty normal. You can download the room list, see where everybody's at. But yeah, this is really cool. How about you? I mean, how many times have you been here?
So I've been to Axpona once. I went to a couple of Rocky Mountain Audio Fests in years past, and then I went to the Texas Audio Roundup, which is a lot smaller. I wouldn't consider it a real audio show, so to speak, but it was kind of more like a short, small little get together over a weekend. This I would consider one of the larger ones I've went to, so I couldn't imagine how large CES is.
Yeah, it's very, very overwhelming. I talked to some people there that they said that was like their 25th time coming to CES, and I'm like, man, that's a lot. But they're like editors and stuff like that. So I want to go back. I don't know. I may do like every other year with CES just because it's so big. But interestingly enough, I was staying at an Airbnb, and I didn't realize that Las Vegas, the hotels are actually pretty cheap because they want people to come there. So I think next time I would actually stay at the hotel that they have there. But yeah, this is a cool place. This is my first time in Chicago. Technically not. I've been to Chicago before, like for layovers, but I've never really like stayed here and done stuff. So this is really cool. I got my first Giordano's pizza the other day, and actually I went there again yesterday. So I've had it twice. It's really good.
We still got to go there.
You still gotta go?
Yeah, we're probably gonna get it tonight. We had pizza at another place, and then we wished we would have gone to the place he went to.
Yeah, and I talked to someone else that went to the same place. I forget, it's Lou something, right?
Lou Malnati's.
Yeah. Someone else told me they went there and they didn't really care for it.
Yeah, so Giordano's, apparently that's the place to go, and I hear they have good stuffed pizza.
Yeah, so I got the deep dish, and I believe it's called like deep dish stuffed, I think, but it's layered. So you've got like a thin layer of crust, which I like. It's actually kind of flaky. It's not too thick. It's not too thin. But then they put like it's kind of hard. I don't know if it's technically layered or if it's just stuff. but it's about, I got the 6-inch and it's about that thick. So you have to use a fork and a knife. It's not like your standard pizza, but they also have thin crust there. I was gonna try the thin crust yesterday, but I was like, nah, I'm just gonna stick with
Chicago.
the, yeah, let me
You gotta
get
do the Chicago thing.
right. So yeah, if you guys get a chance to check that out, because I mean, there's one that's like
That's just down the
10 minutes
road.
from here. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll check that out. One question I really wanted to get in as far as Axpona stuff. This isn't your first rodeo, Haterade Cowboy. Get it? Anyway,
That's fun. I like that.
This isn't your first rodeo. You've been to audio shows before. If you've been to CES, so that's way bigger than this. My question really circled around like if you had stars in your eyes at the show, or if you really had the right expectations going into these rooms. What are your thoughts on like the way things sounded, the overall experience of everything, the people, and all of that?
So I will say everyone's been pretty nice so far. Obviously, I'm kind of on the other side of it, like as far as like just showing up and demoing the rooms because I'm filming so much. But I think that everyone's it's a pretty cool, like people are if you ask someone for information on the speakers, they'll very willing to help you. I would say that expectations, again, I didn't really know what to expect just because it was my first time, but it's a really cool show. I think if you have a chance to come here, you know, next year, 2024, because today is the last day, but if you have a chance to come here, I think you would really enjoy it. I've enjoyed it so far. There's been a couple times where I've, just went into the rooms and just sat there not filming. I will say, kind of to echo some of the other people that I've talked to, that some of the rooms, they just have it just way too loud. Mm-hmm. And at that point, some of the speakers, they start to distort a little bit. They don't sound as good and it's a little bit harsh. So I did hear some complaints about people saying that it was, too loud. I only really experienced that a couple of times where it was too loud. But other than that, like, there's some really, really cool speakers here. Speakers that I've never heard of, speaker brands I've never heard of, speaker brands that are just like astronomically high to where it's like, I don't see why they cost that much.
Or like, I could never afford that.
No,
kind of deal.
no. I mean, those, I don't know if you saw those Dolly speakers downstairs, but
Yeah.
those were $110,000 a pair.
huge.
So, and it's cool. Like, those speakers are cool, but it's just like, I'm like, man, who's actually buying these speakers I mean, those are 110,000. I mean, there's some others that the Macintosh stack, I don't know if you saw that down there
Yeah.
with the big drivers. I believe that is, I forgot how much you told me, but that's either around the same price. Oh no, I think those are 130,000 for that whole.
130,000.
And it's just like, that's more than what my house cost.
Right.
So someone's
Yeah.
buying these speakers and putting them in their house. So
Same.
obviously they're like millionaires and stuff. But yeah, as far as expectations and everything, I would say that it exceeded it. Like, I didn't know what to expect. I can't say that it was a bad show. It's really cool. And there's just so many rooms. I got to check out Per Listen. Did you check those out?
I
Yeah.
loved the subwoofers.
Yeah, those subwoofers are, and I was a little bit disappointed only in the fact that they didn't have it turned up very loud, because I saw them for the first time at CES, but they still sound amazing. So, and I mean, just
You wanted to be a little
beautiful.
more bassy.
Yeah, well, and I was asking Eric, one of the representatives there, I was asking if they ever have any home theater, like, demo rooms. He's like, no, not really, but he's like, we have some of our dealers and installers that around the country that may have them. He's like, we're trying to get more demo rooms. So he's like, if I ever find out of any that are there, like in your area, maybe like Austin or Dallas, he's like, I can tell you can go over there, check them out, film it, whatever. So, but yeah, Per Listen was really cool. The vocal room sounded amazing. They have those new Tiva speakers. That sounded really, really cool. Trying to think of anything else that I heard that really stood out, and I'm sure I'm remembering. But yeah, how about you?
Well, I really like the Per Listen subwoofers as well. And did you know those are actually their entry-level ones?
Yeah, those
They're
things-
around $3,000.
I'll probably never be able to afford Per Listen, but just being able to hear. And interestingly enough, the guy who created Per Listen also, I believe, did the Arundel speakers. Those are the speakers that I just started replacing mine with.
They're called what?
Arundel.
Arundel?
So they're from Norway. Yeah, I have some videos on my channel. Beautiful speakers, awesome speakers. A lot of people really love them. They're not very known yet. Mm-hmm. And I've asked them if they ever have any plans to come to these shows, but I don't think they do right now because they're
Gotcha.
kind of small. But yeah, how about you? What was your, other than per listen, did you have any favorite ones?
Well, before we get off per listen, I did want to mention to everybody out there that they are actually THX certified.
THX Dominus.
THX Dominus, which I didn't know what that was before. You know more about home theater than I do.
So I had never heard of that before either, and I actually was asking Eric about that at CES because I was like, you've got, THX, you've got THX Select, you've got THX Ultra, and basically what those means is, the higher that you go, it can fill a room, a specific room size that they're rated. So if you have like a really big room, then THX Ultra, I forget the square footage, but I was asking him about Dominus because I was like, I've never heard of that. What does that mean? He's like, basically, he said that standard has always been around, but no one has ever known how to make a speaker that can handle the room size. And I forget the room size, forgive me, but basically if you have like a really, really, really big room, then, it can hit a certain decibel at a certain distance and it can fill that room. So they're the first ones, I believe. M&K has the only other Dominus subwoofer.
M&K,
yeah.
M&K.
So I think Shane Lee has a video on his channel, but yeah. So THX Dominus, like that's pretty impressive that they were the first ones and really the only ones that have a speaker like that. So pretty incredible.
Well, other things as far as bass, I heard the Diptyque planar magnetic speakers.
Oh, okay. I don't think I heard those.
You got to go up there. It's up there on the same floor as per listen.
Okay.
It's literally right. They're neighbors.
12th floor?
Yes.
Okay.
And they're planar magnetics, and they look like really modern Japanese screens or room dividers, and they actually have bass.
Interesting. I think
they're
someone was
dipoles
telling
with
me about
bass.
them.
Yeah.
Are they smaller?
No.
Smaller?
No. They're about as big as like the some of the bigger Magnepans. Yeah.
Okay.
And they're around $5,000 for their, or not $5,000, $50,000. I
was gonna say
not
that's
$5,000.
pretty reasonable.
Pretty good for their flagship model. But yeah, they've got bass, and he was like playing some stuff that was actually modern, not playing the regular classical tracks that they're accentuating the highs on in a lot of these rooms. Because I feel like in a lot of the rooms they want to accentuate highs and not so much extend down with the bass. I mean, in a hotel room it's understandable.
Yeah.
But also, depending on the speaker, it may struggle. So, but they were actually exercising these speakers.
Nice. Yeah, it's always a kind of an interesting environment when you're in a hotel room because there's typically not like acoustic treatment. It's not an ideal environment. There's windows, and I know for filming, like it's kind of difficult because some of those rooms are like so dark.
Yeah, we had to come to a window here to film this. So.
Exactly. So yeah, most of these rooms are pretty dark. I was like, when you come in there to film, there's like a light bulb that's like this big, like a couple of them, and I'm like, I don't know how to do this. But yeah, most of the time I would just adjust the ISO. But yeah, it's a pretty interesting environment when you have these, hundreds of $1,000 speakers in a little room. So I can also see why some people will say maybe it's overpowering, like maybe if they turn it up too loud because it's a small room. But yeah, it's definitely an experience coming to Axpona, and just, I mean, there's just so many. I didn't realize there were so many speaker brands that exist.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Yeah, and it's just like
each year I'm surprised.
Yeah, and I'm like, I've never heard of 75% of these companies, but it's really cool because you get to see what's out there. You get to see what type of technology other people are doing, and yeah, it's really cool.
Well, before we kind of wrap this up, I did want to share with the audience a little bit about you. So, what got you into this in the first place, and tell them a little bit about what you do in general.
So, I've also tried to think about that. I don't remember exactly like if there was a specific moment where I got into home theater. I do remember when I was younger, probably either I was a teenager or before, I went over to a friend's house and he had just kind of like this modest surround sound thing with this gaming setup. I believe it was in like a Nintendo 64. I think he had like some computer speakers that was surround sound and had a little bitty subwoofer, but I remember like listening to that and I'm like, this is really cool. Like, this is almost kind of like a theater. So I think that kind of got me, gave me the bug. And then when I was in high school, I started kind of like dipping into, buying a DVD player. I had a tube TV, and then I had like a couple speakers, and then that just evolved. And then I remember basically the first system that I bought was a HTIB. It was a home theater speaker, home theater in a box.
Home theater in a box.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it was a Sony. And I remember I was telling my coworker about it. And I was like, yeah, I've got surround sound, this, and that. And he's listening to me. He's like, "Oh, okay." And I would talk to him about it a few times. And then at one time, he basically told me, he was like, yeah, that system, that's trash. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, if you want surround sound. Yeah. He basically told me, if you want a good surround sound, you need to go with separates. You need to buy a receiver, and then you need to go buy the speakers that you want, buy your subwoofer. And I was like, what are you talking about? So I started researching. And I was like, wow, there's like a whole nother realm of like home theater enthusiasts. And then I started looking at stuff and I was like, whoa, I can't afford that. I'm in at that point I was working, I had graduated, but I was like, I can't afford this stuff. So little by little, I think I got like an Onkyo receiver, then I got some Polk speakers, and then it just evolved into like, the stuff that I have now. And some of the stuff I've had for 10 years. So I know a lot of people say it's daunting and like, I don't have the money, and just save up and do research, because the only way that you can educate yourselves is if you learn. I mean, there was a point where I didn't really know a lot about anything, and then as far as YouTube, I would watch other YouTubers and I was like, man, that's really cool. And I knew that I had a lot of knowledge. I don't know everything. I'm still learning. I won't sit here and profess that I know everything about home theater, but I felt like I had enough knowledge to share with others, and there was certain things where I was like, nobody's talking about this. Like, I feel like, so, I thought about it for a while, and I was struggling, like, I don't know, like, I don't have any camera equipment, like, what about, being on camera, all this stuff. And then I remember one day I was talking to one of my buddies about home theater, and he was like, you should start a YouTube channel, like a home theater. And so that was kind of like, okay, like, if my friend's telling me that, he doesn't even know I'm thinking about it. So I was like, you know what, let me just grab my phone. That's all I had at the time. Let me just go ahead and just start filming. I know it's not going to be good quality, but that's really, just start recording. I watch other YouTubers and I learn from them, and I try to, emulate some stuff without like copying them. But I got into it and I loved it. I started learning how to edit, basically kind of self-taught myself how to edit videos, watch some other stuff. And then I've met other YouTubers, like yourself. And so like, there's a huge community of people, at least on YouTube, that, are in, I mean, home theater enthusiasts, it may not be as big as some other niches on YouTube, but the home theater enthusiasts are very, very passionate about what they do, and being able to share that passion with other people and have other people share it with you, it's really cool. So I love doing this stuff. YouTube, it can get a little bit tiring, getting on a plane and go staying in a hotel and spending money for this stuff. But in the end, like it's worth it.
It's worth it.
Yeah, and I would have never have had the chance. I met some really cool people. If you guys watch the channel, Chris Home Theater Dude, I do a lot of stuff with him. He's taught me a lot. He's helped me a lot. And so getting to work with him, he's opened up a ton of doors that I never would have been able to have, and to be able to go to stuff like this. So it's really cool, man. And anybody else, I would say that if you're trying to get into home theater, or if you're scared, or if you want to start a YouTube channel, I mean, take it from us. Like it's a little bit daunting. It's not easy at first, but you grow and evolve, and then you meet other people that have, the same enthusiasm. It's really cool.
And just don't stop creating, because you have to build it up over time, and it's not going to go viral in one day and continue that way. You may have a viral video that has 50,000 views like I have, and then the rest of them have maybe a few hundred, but you continue to build on it over time. But I really like that. I had somebody who told me once, when I was trying to get into a particular technology, that they asked me if I wanted to be a mentor, and I was like, well, I know a little bit, but I don't think I know enough to be a mentor. And the guy was like, do you know enough where you feel like you could share that information with others and teach them something? And I said, yes. And he's like, then you've got what it takes to be a mentor. You just keep building on that. And so it doesn't matter. If you have a little bit of knowledge to share, then you can mentor somebody else. And of course, the mark of an educated mind is kind of what you quoted. You don't know everything, and you tell people when you don't know everything, and we will tell you when we don't. But we will share what we can and help you guys out. You guys help us as well.
Yep.
So
definitely, we're only here because of the viewers. I mean, if it wasn't for them, like, we wouldn't get to do any of this stuff.
Exactly.
So thank you.
So this is the Audio Bell with Jordan, Haterade Cowboy Cinema, and we're both signing out. Thanks, Jordan.
Thank you for watching.